Alright, I'm finally here with my first anime video for YouTube. I've said that I wanted to do anime reactions and reviews on this channel, and how I thought it'd be a good idea to share a bit of my anime history before doing so. And what better way to do that than in a top 5 format. Now, this isn't a top 5 best or favorite anime list, because there's already plenty of lists with Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Haikyuu, Re:Zero, Death Note, Mob Psycho Season 2, of course Attack on Titan, and I didn't want to make another one of those kinds of lists. So instead I compiled a list of the top 5 anime I actually want people to watch, and I hope that someone out there watching this video decides to watch one of these shows because they saw this video. And before I get started, I'd like to shout out my friend and fellow YouTuber Nico Floflo, who challenged me to a race to 100 subscribers here on YouTube. The loser of this challenge has to buy the winner a 6-pack of craft beer or a bottle of nice whiskey, and if it weren't for his challenge, I would probably be playing Valorant or Dead by Daylight instead of recording this video at 5 AM a few hours before I upload it. So yeah, shoutouts to Nico Floflo. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel because he will need the help, and I hope you enjoy the video here. My first entry is Bungo Stray Dogs. The show follows the members of the Armed Detective Agency as they solve a variety of mysteries, and of course they all have supernatural powers. The cool thing about this show though is that each character is named after a famous literary figure, and their personalities and relationships in the show are based on the ones they had in real life. For example, the real-life Dazai, Ango, and Oda are often referred to as the Buraiha, and the show pays homage to that by bringing them together in the first episodes of Season 2. However, if the show was just literary references without substance, I wouldn't be able to call it one of my favorite shows of all time. So what makes Bungo Stray Dogs an anime worth watching? To me, Bungo Stray Dogs shines in its interesting cast of characters and character relationships. I've rewatched the show countless times just to watch the characters be themselves and do their thing, because on top of being funny and relatable, they're also admirable in their uncanny ability to overcome adversity and to just be an overall badass. And this quality isn't limited to the quote-unquote good guys, it also applies to the quote-unquote bad guys too. The Armed Detective Agency and the Port Mafia are two of my favorite groups in fiction, and it's a treat whenever any combination of them is on screen. As far as the story goes, a lot of its intrigue comes from wondering how each character's ability works. And that's because in Bungo Stray Dogs, the abilities are named after the character's most famous literary work instead of a straightforward descriptor of what their ability actually does. This naming convention made each ability reveal super exciting to me, and it came with the added bonus that if I liked any character in particular, I could read the work that their ability was named after. And while these literary tidbits aren't necessary to enjoy the show, being aware of them will definitely enrich your experience with it. And yeah, please go watch Bungo Stray Dogs. It is available on Crunchyroll, Funimation, and I'd imagine other major streaming platforms. And now that I'm done with that one, let's get to the next entry. The second anime I'd like people to watch is Aoi Bungaku, or Blue Literature. Aoi Bungaku adapts a number of classic Japanese literature stories into anime form. Admittedly, I only became aware of this anime after seeing its name pop up in several Bungo Stray Dog threads across the internet, but I didn't take the dive until after reading a few of the featured works themselves. The 2 novels I read that were adapted in this series were No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai and Kokoro by Natsume Soseki. The other entries in this show were written by Ango Sakaguchi and Ryunosuke Akutagawa, and all of these authors make their appearance in Bungo Stray Dogs. While this series can be a treat for fans of Bungo Stray Dogs in particular, it can also be a valid first step into the world of Japanese literature. That said, it isn't the most accessible anime out there since it isn't featured on any of the big streaming websites, and I was only able to watch the first 4 episodes myself. Even then, because the show is a collection of adaptations, I was able to watch the entire adaptation of No Longer Human, and I found it to be an awesome presentation of one of my favorite books. I'd like to believe that the quality I experienced in the first 4 episodes is a consistent feature in the rest of the series, and when I have access to a DVD player again, I'll be back in a future video to either confirm or deny this suspicion. Flip Flappers is a quote-unquote deviation from what I usually watch, but it still deserves its spot on this list nonetheless. Simply put, Flip Flappers is a story of two girls and their quest to collect stones in an alternate dimension called Pure Illusion, which in essence is a pretty simple premise, but the strengths of this anime isn't in its plot but rather in its presentation. Instead of pushing its narrative in an expository way where everything is explained through dialogue, Flip Flappers shows you a lot of different things that you're supposed to interpret the meaning from. And I like that because when I watch anime, I'm there to watch something rather than read it. On top of that, the imagery-driven narration comes with a bunch of different allusions and homages across branches of art, science, and philosophy, all of which enriched my experience with the show. And because of the show's episodic nature, with each entry differing thematically and even genre-wise, the only limit to what the series could bring to the screen was the amount of episodes the show ran for. The reason why I want more people to watch this anime is because I want to see what people take away from its many layers of visual storytelling. Personally, it was the art references that tickled my fancy, but maybe other people relate more to Mad Max or this bunny that was named after a German biologist. I'd say Flip Flappers deserves at least as much recognition as the more popular visually driven anime Fully Cooley, and I'd guess that the only reason Flip Flappers isn't as well known is because of the other anime it had to compete with back in the fall of 2016. Yet despite being overlooked during its initial debut, I still believe Flip Flappers is worth the watch, and I'd really like more people to watch this anime. Ride Your Wave is a movie about love and grief and surfing and fighting fires. The movie is directed by Masaki Yuasa, who is known for entries such as Ping Pong the Animation, Devilman Crybaby, and the Tatami Galaxy. And while I haven't experienced any of Yuasa's works prior to this, I was drawn in to Ride Your Wave by its stylization and vivid colors, and I was hooked by the catchy turned chilling theme song that served as one of the movie's main narrative motifs. I went to go see this movie live in theater when it was released in the US, and I believe it's because of the other two anime movies that were released around its time that this movie was overlooked. Those movies were the My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, and the Weathering With You movies. And when you hear those names, it makes sense why a movie like Ride Your Wave would be overlooked by the general population. And while I do think it's unfair to compare Ride Your Wave to the likes of My Hero Academia, I will say that I enjoyed the premise of Ride Your Wave more than I did Weathering With You. That's because on top of Ride Your Wave being a story of young love, it was also a story of grief, and that mature theme is something Weathering With You lacked for me. That said, I did enjoy all three films. I just believe that Ride Your Wave deserves as much love and attention as the other two, even if just for the song that will get stuck in your head for months after you've watched it. And the last entry I have for this list is Paprika, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Paprika is an anime movie that follows Dr. Atsuko Chiba as she treats psychiatric patients with a device that allows her to enter their dreams. The film was released in 2006 and was directed by the late Satoshi Kon, who is known more for his directorial debut film Perfect Blue, which I haven't seen yet but intend to because of how much I enjoyed this film. Paprika is colloquially known for its parallels between itself and the more popular movie Inception, and there are videos everywhere across the internet showing a number of scenes side by side that would make a viewer think that the former inspired the latter. And while I'm not too interested in whether or not these allegations are true, I do think it's fair to compare the two in their ability to portray the surreality of a dream world born from one's subconscious. In that respect, I think Paprika has an advantage because it's an animated film, and the suspension of disbelief required to watch an animated medium allows for elements of surreality to be brought to life in ways that CGI just isn't ready to match yet. But that's also just a matter of personal opinion. If you disagree with me, feel free to say so in the comments. I probably won't be able to defend myself anyway since it's been a while since I've seen the movie, and that's also why I don't have much to say on this point. So yeah, those are the top 5 anime I want people to actually watch. I'd say that these 5 are a good representation of what I like and look for in anime, and if you have any recommendations based on what I've shared here, please let me know in the comments below. That said, I'm glad I've finally done this video. I'm excited to start doing anime reactions and reviews, and if you'd like to stick around for those, please hit the subscribe button down below. Please help me get to 100 subs before Nico Flow. And regardless of what you choose to do after watching this video, I'd like to thank you for sticking around until the end, and I hope to see you in the next upload.